Don't we do the, so why don't we have Jeff lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Justice for all.
God bless our troops.
You bet.
All right, so Telesco's there, so you don't have any issues with the roll call, correct? So why don't we move right into application review, so Larry doesn't have an accident on the highway? And because I never hear the end of it from your wife and kids. All right, so Doc, take over.
All right, great. We have only one application. It's a CAM application this evening from 48 Calf Pasture Beach Road, Norwalk. As I pointed out, it's a CAM application, and the applicant is Paige Treglia, excuse me, who plans to add a 92 square foot, plus or minus, as I see on that application, and a one-story addition to an existing seasonal takeout restaurant. And the building is located opposite Charles Creek, and the proposed project will not physically disrupt or disturb the Charles Creek area or degrade water quality or interfere with stormwater drainage pattern within the creek. The proposed project will not affect intertidal flats or adjacent recreational boating facility, as they indicated. And I think we have the builder here. Let's see, Paige is here. Did you want to take us through very quickly through that application? Because again, the biggest thing that the Harbor Commission is concerned with is that you're not doing any construction in or on the, in the harbor itself, but certainly adjacent to the harbor. But certainly any water runoff, any construction material that or debris perhaps would not enter Norwalk Harbor.
Right. Commissioner, this is Larry Cafaro. I have the privilege of representing Paige and the Gardella family with regard to this, if I may. And Paige could certainly chime in to give you more detail. But many of you might be aware of the Galley Restaurant, Galley Cafe, that is part of the whole Cove Marina experience, if you will, near the gas filling station and the ship shore shop that they have there. It has been a highly successful seasonal cafe, and Paige and the folks that she works with want to expand and give better service to their customers. They have a very limited kitchen right now with one sort of small stove area, fryolator, sink area, etc., and most importantly, prep area. And what Paige hopes to do is to be able to service more customers in a faster and more efficient manner. And in order to do that, she needs a larger prep area. She needs an expanded cooking area, grill, and she needs an expanded fryolator and an expanded sink area. In order to do that, they're proposing to make a little addition. I say little, it is about 8 feet out toward the east into the parking lot, 12 feet across, to expand their existing kitchen so they can add the larger equipment of the grill, a fryolator, and prep station, as well as the sinks, and service more people at that locale. It's become a very, very popular place. I know I frequent it, maybe many of you do, and Paige and family are trying to make it a better experience, service more people in a more efficient way. And that basically is the gist of I would argue, a very simple application that does no damage. It does not encroach at all into the coastal waters, just encroaches again by 8 feet into what is an existing parking paved area. And that's pretty much what our application is requesting. And any other further details, I'll turn over to Paige, but that's where we're at.
In essence, it's a food truck without wheels.
Well, I bet you Paige would like this.
As far as the kitchen area is concerned,
Yeah.
that's all
Yeah.
I'm relating to. The only issue that I have, because I went down there to support her last summer, and when I got there, it was mid-afternoon, it was closed. And that's just a comment from customer service scenarios. I'm sure
Right.
you limit your hours for obvious reasons, business reasons.
Exactly. So Larry pretty much covered everything, just from, my experience being there and starting the business. We did take off like crazy, just being open 2 seasons so far, going into our 3rd season. And we are pretty much working with a smaller kitchen than you would find on a food truck. We're working with a 24-inch grill and a 10-pound capacity fry later. And that's pretty much it. So we're looking to double the size and all equipment, and just be able to produce more food faster, expand our hours, and looking to do, more catering and just expanding the business as a whole. We've kind of, exceeded our options at this point with what we can do in the space right now. So definitely, in order to keep producing the food that, the demand is, we need a larger kitchen. That's what the goal is. The main goal is just to expand the kitchen, and, have everyone enjoy the outside, because it'll never be an indoor space, but, more food, the better. And then later hours, we have our liquor license and live music. So it's really taken off, and, the feedback and everything is great. And one of the biggest, points when we do get feedback is the wait time, because we can't keep up, with the wait, the lines due to the size of the grill. So that's the main objective of this whole addition, is to just be able to make more food faster.
Okay, no, well, Paige and Mr. Cafaro, you're preaching to converted as far as I'm concerned anyway, as far as the ambiance of the whole, because I've frequented the galley myself and enjoyed, the ambiance, certainly Sunday mornings. In any event, the main concern basically of the Harbor Commission is certainly any water runoff, oil and grit separation, et cetera, that might affect the harbor. Basically, as far as the overall setup that you have, certainly in concurrence with what you plan to do, and certainly wish you a lot of success in doing that. But as I said, our biggest concern is, for example, any water runoff. If you have a dumpster or oil, whatever, if you collect oil, whatever, that nothing goes, again, it affects Norwalk Harbor in any way. And that's basically our concern, and especially during any construction process, that the debris or anything does not wander into the harbor. And that's basically our concern.
So John, why don't you put a motion forward?
Yeah, well, as I said,
to approve the application with the standard normal language that we put.
Our standard language on that is that, in general, that the Harbor Management Commission is concerned about the potential adverse impacts of stormwater runoff from impervious parking areas and rooftop runoff that drain into Norwalk Harbor. And the Harbor Management Plan calls for protection and improvement of water quality, in the harbor, and supports appropriate best management practices to avoid otherwise and mitigate non-point source pollution. And, we certainly support implementation of runoff reduction and low impact development practices pursuant to the city's stormwater management requirements. And again, that the builder appropriately apply some best management practices during the construction. And I'd like to put that forward as our recommendation.
All right, do we have a second to that motion, please?
We have some discussion.
Yes, I like, yes. Yeah, that's.
We can do the motion and then discuss.
Well, first of all, Chris, we need a second to the motion, then we can have discussion on the motion before the vote. So Matt seconded the
I have
motion.
one question. I want to second the motion, but again, if we can just highlight during the construction process, if, they can have any restraints in that area, specifically, being on this part of the harbor. Also, this time of year, we get a lot of debris that goes in the water that gets sucked up into the ice eaters and things like that are hopefully done for the season. But yeah, if we can just have some little aspect of standard construction practices for keeping debris off, I think it's.
Well, that's basically it. That we.
That's part of the standard language, man.
Employ appropriate best management practice during the construction, including removal of any debris, and it does not cause any significant adverse impact on environmental quality in Norwalk Harbor.
Yeah, that's perfect. And there really is, from my perspective, there really is no additional impact from what they currently have in terms of the future.
No.
And not only that, if I may, commissioners, well, I'm sorry, I'm not appropriate to talk right now, so I'll take that back and I'll comment
All right,
later.
let's hear from Chris McDonald.
Yeah, a couple things. The existing condition there is just a paved parking lot.
Yes.
The
so-
condition of where we're going to expand is currently literally just a paved parking.
Okay, so we're not increasing, impermeable surfaces. That's good. Are there any restrictions in usage and what can be, or stored? Because it's all not just the construction phase, but I believe this is within the flood zone, right? This location.
Yeah. By definition, yes. And Paige, please correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no use nor storage of materials that is proposed that is not concurrent with what we are doing right now. So it's the same foodstuffs, et cetera. And to Commissioner Pinto's point, we have all precautions with regard to oil and all the things that, one does with regard to a restaurant facility, so that we will not impact the coastal area in the least bit. Paige, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, that was basically it, Mr. Farrell, on the aspect of, for example, the use of friolators, for example, any oils that's sort of kept on the side or in bins, what have you, necessary for removal. I know some restaurants do that. They put their oil aside and it's processed by some other group taken away. So those are certainly our concerns.
We have a grease trap that is set up directly for the sink. And then when we do empty the grease trap, we do have, a secondary grease dump, I guess you could say. It's just we have a secondary company that comes and collects the waste. So yes, that's already there from the past season. So.
And is that tank going to be larger now that you're doubling the capacity of the fryer?
It doesn't necessarily need to be larger. They could just come empty it more frequently. We kind of just give them a phone call when it's about halfway, and then they come and collect it.
Jeff?
Yes, Jeff.
Thanks, John.
I had to say Jeff because I was recognizing you before Jeff chimed up.
All right.
Sorry.
Is the motion to find this consistent with the harbor management plan or to have no objection to it?
It's no objection, it's a CAM application.
Yeah, but if
We can still find it consistent with the plan.
that's what I'm getting at. What's the argument for saying it's consistent with the plan? What would you argue that this?
I have no qualms of having that being issued as consistent with the Norfolk Harbor Management Plan, which it is.
But my point is, what would be the finding to make it to find it consistent? Because it increases public enjoyment of the waterfront. Is that what the argument would be?
If I may,
if it's just a beneficial project, but it doesn't really affect the harbor and it doesn't cause any adverse impacts, then the comment I think would simply be no objection with the water quality, comments. But if you thought that there's some way that this does have a beneficial impact on the harbor or advances a policy of the harbor management plan, then you could find it consistent with the plan. But
It also does allow public access to the water.
Well, then that's what I'm getting at. If that is the case, then the argument might be for finding it consistent with the plan rather than just having no objection.
Yeah, I mean, they do have waterfront seating, public access.
I mean, Jeff, you'll find that this has been a draw in the neighborhood for people that are mariners and people that aren't, to come down and have breakfast on the water, to come down and have drinks in the water. It's just another advantage to allow people to have access to enjoy the harbor. Yep.
Then I think it's reasonable to make an argument that it's consistent with the harbor management plan.
That's correct.
Which gives it another level up. Which is fine. So that's what John had proposed to begin with, that it was consistent. So there was a second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Your motion?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? Any abstentions?
Abstentions or objections? Not seeing none, so moved.
Great.
Larry, you can drive now.
commissioners, I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys so
Thank you very
much. I
much.
appreciate it. I will
luck
see
with
you
the
over the
expansion.
summer.
Yeah, Paige, when are you opening up?
Well, as soon as we could get all of this approved, we're aiming for June 1st, so June 1.
Great. We'll be there.
And then way earlier in the season, the rest of the seasons to come, so, and later hours.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank
Great
you
place.
guys.
It's a great place.
Take care, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, John, next you have some open items. Did you want to discuss on the walk?
Well, we, just for the commissioner's sake, we did submit our hearing material to the hearing officer, in which they took it under consideration, and how seriously they took that under consideration is certainly a major question to us. We don't know. Jeff did attend some of the hearing officers discussion of the proposals by the DOT and DEP. And there was some comment made by several people, Mr. Wislinski and also Devin Santa, but we don't know what exactly what she's planning on incorporating any of or all of our proposals that we had made. We don't know that.
Well, we went over it as a group as well in our joint meeting. And the suggestion and the question that Lori brought up and Alan concurred with, and I think in the end we all agreed with, if there were times during the course of the construction over the years that there was no activity that could pose a problem and there was room to move the boats, it would be left at the discretion of the harbor master. Now, what I heard, because I listened to a lot of it too, and some of it Jeff sent me that were pinpointed segment of the 6 hours worth of commentary. And I did listen to about an hour and a half of it myself. That they were going, it seemed like that they were going down that route. And it didn't seem like there was much, it was not a lot to do about something. It was just a lot of semantics. I think Jeff will explain, and from what I saw as well, and I'll concur, that this was a very rehearsed, practiced presentation that was done. It wasn't off the cuff, or the witnesses were well prepped, so to speak. But I'll let Jeff bring up his comments because he saw more than I did on it.
Well, I think it's fair to say that the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission over the last 7 years were diligent in looking at this project and providing thoughtful recommendations. And I don't know what the schedule is for the hearing officer to make her decision, but what we listened to last week was the evidentiary hearing following the reception of public comments at the public comment hearing. And actually, John, it was more than 6 hours, like 6 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. And then what we didn't listen to in person, we listened to on the recording. And, you know, there are two parties, legal parties to this proceeding. It's DEEP, which is it's DOT, which of course wants to receive a permit from DEEP, and DEEP, which has announced its intent to issue the permit. So the evidentiary hearing is set up essentially for DOT to explain why their project is good and why they should receive the permit, and for DEP to explain why they think the permit should be issued. And there was consideration given to our comments, but there's still unanswered questions, how this will all be approved. For example, there was discussion, or we submitted comments about the lack of permits from the harbor master to station vessels in the harbor. And the statute clearly says that no vessel can be moored in the harbor without a permit from the harbor master. But that was not considered as part of this process. And then there's the discussion about the 24-hour water quality monitoring, which isn't addressed in the terms and conditions in the draft permit or license, they call it. And then there's the vessel relocation matter and the use of the area between the bridges for picking up passengers during the project. And I thought Mr. Santa, who was the expert witness for, I guess, DOT, talking about the navigation risk assessment that was done, he did acknowledge that the risks are greater for operation of the vessels between the bridges than they are at the proposed Water Street docking facility. And that he acknowledged the letters sent by the harbor masters and the current deputy harbor master acting as the harbor master and the Harbor Management Commission about the risks associated with operating the boats between the bridges. And he did stress the need that if the boats are to operate between the bridges to pick up and discharge passengers, there needs to be coordination and communication among the harbor master, the contractor, the Coast Guard, and the Marine Police. So whether that will be reflected in the terms and conditions, that we don't know. There was a lot of discussion about Manresa Island. So the testimony that's made was given is intended to address the comments and the concerns that they know of. Interestingly, there was no discussion of that I heard, and listening to most all of it, of the status of the Eversource project or of the Coast Guard bridge permit or of the Federal Corps of Engineers permits that are necessary. And those are all processes which we have to continue to be involved with. So it's an interesting experience. And and again, I know last time we were, there wasn't a lot of interest in continuing to discuss this matter with the court case in Greenwich, but it's significant here, because in response to our comments, the hearing officer referred to that case in Greenwich, or the Superior Court decision, and stated that the Harbor Management Commission's comments will be considered equally with the public comments. In other words, there's no special standing for the Harbor Commission. The comments will be treated just as general public comments. And
But
then
again, what
there's
was
a
even more interesting, Jeff, if you want to chime in and just indicate what the hearing officer asked Mr. Grislinski.
Well, yes, and there was, but it brings up
That was very pointed.
It brings up the whole matter of the authority of the Harbor Commission and the significance of the commission and of the Harbor Management Plan.
She asked him whether any of the material and the Walk Bridge project was specifically incorporated into the Harbor Management Plan.
Yes, and she asked if Norwalk had a harbor management plan, and of course the answer is yes. And whether DEEP reviewed the harbor management plan in the course of reviewing the bridge permit application, and the answer is yes to that. And then the question was, does the harbor management plan say anything about how to rebuild the railroad bridge or about the reconstruction of the railroad bridge, which of course it doesn't, because
that was the edict what the judge laid down in all of his.
How could we ever predict that?
That's correct.
And so our argument all along is that the harbor management plan includes policies to protect water quality and promote safe navigation and public access, and policies that we'd apply to the review of the bridge. But again, it's to be determined the end result of that court case. But it was specifically referenced.
Court case is now picking up, Jeff. That's the start. That's the start of what's going to happen from here on in.
It was specifically recommended. And the other thing is, when the hearing officer responded to the Harbor Commission's comments, the comment of the hearing officer that the Harbor Commission's comments will be considered as general public comments, that was underlined almost like. But then anyway, I shouldn't make light of it.
We still have the fight. The fight is still in progress, Jeff.
Yeah, it's something we have to, but we did the job. The Harbor Commission did its job in looking at this, and we still have to continue to review the Coast Guard bridge permit, the Corps of Engineers public notice, and the Eversource.
Peter, you have a question, or you have a response?
Yes. No. When the police were there the last time, and they said they don't need them, then why are they using them on the bridge over here every single time?
Don't follow you.
You know what I'm saying? They're using it at the bridge on East Avenue. Even when it's one way on one side, they still got one cop on one side, one cop on the other.
Well, we made the recommendation to them that the Marine Police should be involved in this project, just as they are on other infrastructure projects on the roads.
I know, and they said they don't need them.
Well, actually, when we looked through all of the background material, there was reference to meetings or a meeting with the Marine Police and DOT and the contractor, in which it appeared that DOT agreed that the Marine Police would be retained and would be involved in oversight of the bridge project. Our concern was that that's not reflected in the draft terms and conditions in the permit, and we asked that it should be. And the other thing that we didn't hear in the evidentiary hearing is our argument that the harbor master has principal authority for stationing all vessels. So they did not address in this evidentiary hearing that I heard that comment about the harbor master, or that our not assertion, our argument about the harbor master's authority. And we also heard, it was interesting at one point, that Deep was considering that the harbor master does not have authority to station commercial vessels, and that's a significant finding. But that was in response to our concern that Deep would authorize the mooring of these construction barges and workboats during the project, but did not bother to consult with the harbor master in terms of getting a permit from the harbor master. So those are still outstanding questions, I think. But again, we're doing the best we can.
What if the harbor master issues a summons for an illegally moored commercial vessel?
Well, but it's
That's a challenge.
But I don't think we can accept that. Maybe we'd have to request an opinion from the Attorney General, but the statute is very clear that no mooring can be placed in the harbor without a permit from the harbor master.
That's correct.
And that also requires an annual mooring permit fee. And there's a fee for commercial vessels.
Better to throw things back on their shoulders, Jeff.
Well, it also would displace, I don't know how many, but traditionally issued recreational mooring permits for that South Anchorage. That was not considered. So these are all, I guess, topics that we'll continue to be concerned with.
Do we make a distinction between anchorages and moorings?
I don't follow you, Chris.
Well, any boat can drop an anchor anywhere they want, most any time. You don't need a mooring permit to drop an anchor in a federal.
I believe they still have to contact the harbor master.
No, but
There's a time limit that they can anchor.
Yep, the time limit would be the distinction I'm looking for. Yeah.
No, it's not. But the draft license by Deep specifically approves the mooring of vessels with mooring tackle that the vessels would be attached to, with swing radii and fore and aft moorings, and that's one answer to your question. The other answer is the harbor master's authority applies to the stationing of all vessels, and that doesn't distinguish between moorings and anchors. So in this instance, it's our feeling that the statutes authorizing harbor master powers and duties have not been properly complied with. But that's our comment. We have no authority to challenge this now, or other than to seek, I guess, decisions from the Attorney General. But we can't, since the Harbor Commission is not a legal intervener, can't appeal this or delay it, or all we can do is make thoughtful comments. Thank you, John, for letting me go on and talk about this.
Okay, anybody else want to jump in on this subject? I mean, we know we have not heard from Eversource yet, so there's nothing really to discuss because we don't know. We have an idea of what they're planning to do, but we don't know in depth what the actual final plan is, because they haven't.
Apparently neither does DEP.
Well, they
Is there
say
a time frame or any type of ballpark and when they're going to respond to us?
They seem to have the ball and the rules in their court, Matt.
well, they're gonna wait probably most likely the last minute and then say that, oh, we need this approval immediately.
In a hurry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as one of the
That's always the
paragraphs
bonus operandi.
I had us add, and this has got to be the better part of 18 months ago, in one of the million letters that we sent to the Common Council, it was that, this is going to get delayed and delayed and delayed. And we're going to continue to ask for information, and they're going to give us a 30,000-page document and give us, 15 days to approve it, or there's going to be a $17 million adder to the price of the project.
They played this game before, Matt, many times.
It's just so frustrating because, as Jeff's talking about, these are simple rules and regulations that they're not even fulfilling those.
Do we know, have they applied to Army Corps of Engineers on anything?
You mean
Yeah.
Eversource?
Yeah, or the others? Or
Yeah,
DOT?
Eversource has.
To,
They did like 3 years ago, and they got
Army Corps of Engineers?
No,
they got the Common Council to have the mayor.
Oh, no,
sign
that's
off
different. That was different, John.
For Eversource?
no.
No, that wasn't there. Eversource for this underground, what was previously between the docks, now goes around the docks, was applied for 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The mayor signed a letter letting them move it forward.
That's correct. In 2018, there was a council meeting, and the council authorized the mayor to sign off on a form that would allow Eversource to submit their application for something called a Section 408 permit from the Corps of Engineers, which is necessary whenever you're proposing something that might affect a federal navigation project. But my understanding, talking with the Corps of Engineers regularly, is as of now, they don't have anything from Eversource with respect to the 408
How
permit.
about the siting committee?
The siting committee, we continue to check their website, which posts lists of applications that they've received. There's nothing on the siting council website at this time.
For
But-
Eversource or DOT?
DOT doesn't need anything from the siting council, but
Why?
Eversource does. And so when we first talked about this with Deep, it was understood that that the process normally is for the utility in situations like this to go to the siting council first for the siting council's approval. Because theoretically, the siting council could deny it or say it has to go in a different location. Then they would then they would apply to DEEP for the permit of how to do it. But DEP has told us now, though, that they've agreed to let that process go in parallel, a submittal to the siting council and to DEP. And the submittal to DEP will be for an individual permit, just like for the Walk Bridge. And that will require a public notice and a public hearing if a petition is received for a public hearing. And interestingly, when the Common Council back in 2018 agreed that the mayor could sign off on the submittal to the Corps of Engineers for the 408 permit, it was with the condition that Eversource, and I don't know exactly the words, we can go back to the council minutes, but that there would be an agreement between Eversource and the city that whatever Eversource did would not adversely affect the city's interest in the visitor stock. So that's the sort of thing we would want to hold them to. But right now, we don't know when they're going to proceed. And I believe the last time that we received the pre-application form from Eversource, the commission found that additional information was lacking, and we've asked Eversource to come back since. Now, most recently, if you remember, the DPW in Norwalk presented on behalf of Eversource a revised plan for the route of the relocated transmission cables. And it was our understanding then that Eversource would soon be applying to the siting council, but we've heard nothing since. So again, I'm sorry to talk quickly, but this is 7 years of work that we've been involved with this, and we'll have to go through this process with Eversource. And interestingly, Deep, when we talked with Deep recently, actually before the evidentiary hearing, we might well expect that Eversource, when it submits its application for a Deep permit, will request a public hearing on its own, rather than wait to get a petition from interested parties. And that will serve to expedite their process as well. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, would that mean then that there's 2 public hearings? Because going back 4 years ago now, at least the mayor told Pete and I about the siting council having to weigh in, and that the siting council agreed to have their public hearing in Norwalk.
Well,
Am I
that would,
correct, Pete? Is that what happened, Pete?
that's
You're
John.
on mute.
Yes, you're right. I remember when it happened.
Yeah,
That, John, is with respect to the siting council's decision. The
correct.
deep-
That's my question.
That's a
if-
separate, that's a separate process than the deep process.
I understand that, but if they have a siting council public hearing, is there also a requirement? And what I'm hearing you say, that there is a requirement also, if petitioned, for a public hearing through deep.
Well, I guess we're going to wait and see if they would hold two hearings at the same time, but my understanding was that the type of application that Eversource will be submitting to the siting council is for a petition sort of approval, which is not the full, arguing that this is an adjustment or a improvement of an existing facility rather than a new facility. And I don't believe that requires a public hearing, but we could certainly request it. And the mayor indicated that he would request such a hearing, but that's from the siting council.
Right.
Now, whether Deep would want to hold its own public hearing at the same time, we don't know.
Okay.
May I offer my 2 cents? I kind of agree with Matt. They're going to drag this out, give us 15 days or 20 days or whatever to turn around and come up with, or at least an approval.
Yep.
If we haven't, have a legal opinion on the merits of the harbor master, the authority of the harbor master in this case. I mean, that's going to make or break this situation, I think. But
Well, I don't.
if they don't recognize the harbor master, then we're dead.
No, you're talking about Eversource.
No, I'm talking about the entire project.
No, the entire project, that horse has already left the barn. That public hearing is done. And now there's a referee that is disseminating all the information. And then we have to see what her decision is at the end of the day.
But if the harbor master says they can't dock
No
a
authority.
place, what they decide that the harbor master has no say in the matter.
Well, then that's where state statutes has got to be challenged then. That's what I mentioned
Well,
before.
I'm just wondering if a legal opinion at this point should make any difference.
Well, right now, I had a discussion with our corporate lawyers, and they are sort of sitting in abeyance and sort of sitting on the sidelines.
I think where a lot of weight will come in is when we're finally able to connect with the Coast Guard. We had a Coast Guard person that agreed with our decisions. She's now left and gone on to different location because they have deployments and they get moved every so many years. John, I believe you've reached out to the Coast Guard several times.
Reached out to the Coast Guard, reached out to Army Corps, and have nothing back because the Lieutenant She is no longer with them either. That's the Army Corps. And I've contacted.
We're waiting to find the right contact to.
No, we have the right contact, but we're actually, the right contact has been avoiding or not responding to us.
I just hate to wait till the last minute, that's all.
Well, Dennis, this seems to be, again, the modus operandi of all of these operations, the DEP, the DOT, et cetera. That's exactly.
I understand that, but then we have no leg to stand on if we don't have time to pursue it.
And even more so now that this judge, in his ill-advised opinion, I have to say, I mean, it's got to be just the idiotic opinion of this guy. What he was listening to is to negate anything that has to do with the harbor management plan. It's
There
just
you go.
it washes this right out. This is now a juggernaut that is now starting to escalate.
John, that's another battle that we need to
It's all part of the continuum, John. It's all part of what we're doing right now.
to address. We discussed it yesterday or today, Jeff and I, that the harbor group needs to get more engaged, and we have to have state legislation passed to give
That's
us-
correct. And it's not going to happen obviously this year, you know, but we need sort of well, we have an association, but we need to have a little bit more of a coordinated effort from Stonington to Greenwich, all the harbors.
Well, I'll interrupt
Jack?
again, but Dennis is right about the Harbor Master Authority, because that's a separate matter from the Harbor Management Commission Authority.
Right, yeah.
And so we don't have a ruling yet from the hearing officer. We just have the comments that were made during the process with DEEP when we met with them, John, prior to the evidentiary hearing. And they told us informally, I guess, that they were of the opinion that the harbor master may not have authority to station commercial vessels. And that was in part, an argument for their issuance of the permit for the mooring of the work barges. So
It's all part of the whole scenario, Jeff, of whittling away at the harbor management plan, whittling away at the harbor master's authority. You know, it's all converging.
But
It's
perhaps
just wearing everybody down to leave them alone.
but perhaps we get the opinion from the hearing officer, which I'm assuming will be forthcoming. I don't know what the schedule is. And if that doesn't address the harbor master's authority to station vessels, then maybe at that time that the harbor master, we should make a request to the Attorney General's office to either uphold the statute or give an opinion on this. But it's
I
quite
hope we have the
interesting.
time. I hope we have the time to do that.
The only reason why we don't do it now with
Those platforms are
expectation.
not gonna get put in overnight. So once the ruling comes through, then we can react to it. And I think that's where we should leave it at this point. Because we're what ifing all over the place, and without having the declarations or final results, that could be really fruitless.
Well, do we heed his efforts though, and reach out to the Attorney General and ask if this happens, what options do we have? Just so that,
Well,
a
right
month
now,
and a half
let's
from
wait.
now.
The Attorney General, who was very active already in this whole process, they had representation there. There were more lawyers than people that testified. So, including the Attorney General's office. So let the declaratory ruling come down from the fact finder, and then we'll address it from there. I think that's our best course of action at this point.
Well, keep in mind too, that the DEP is changing guard. There's an attrition right now going on, in which you're now getting replacement of a lot of individuals who don't know what happened before, or what statements or what comments that they made before. So, things get put out of their mind, they forget about it, or they don't concern themselves with it, and they start making up their own rules. And this is exactly what we're getting right now.
Yeah, but let's move beyond
We'll
that.
move forward. We'll have to deal with it one step at a time. I got you.
All right, as far as the chairman's report, other than what we've been talking about, there's been no real activity other than what we've been talking about. So I'll go to the harbor master's report. And Bruce, would you also bring up the reach out that you got from Ken Hughes in your report,
Sure.
please?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I'll start off first with this past weekend. I went out with Norm Edwards. We kind of canvassed all the moorings. Right now, I found about 7 that are vacant. So I'm gonna probably get those pulled or moved around, because I have a waiting list of people to want to see if they can moor their boat. I went down to harbor, down by the city dock, and we looked at a location for 2 transient moorings. I talked to Alan about that. So some of these vacant moorings that we located, we're just gonna shuffle 2 down, color them up, label them maybe for Docwa, and try to get the ball rolling on that, and see if it works. If it works, we could put a couple more down there. I I got a call the other day from Ken Hughes. Ken Hughes wanted to know if I knew about the dock issue over at Harbor Lights. So the city property between Harbor Lights and Vantage Point is now going to become a kayak ramp, a walk ramp for kayakers. But the issue is Harbor Lights kind of encroached their dock about 15 feet into the middle of the city property. So I told him that DEP was aware of it. I told him I was going to mention it tonight, and he's also in contact with the city engineer, Stephen Keplin. So that's going to be an issue.
Chief Kleppen, that's zoning.
Zoning.
Zoning, yeah, planning and zoning.
Vanessa Valazares is the principal engineer from DPW.
So,
So this is First Street, the First Street extension is what?
yes.
Okay. Wonder where they got that idea.
Yeah, I don't know. 16 feet they're overhanging. But
Well, we brought it
Yeah,
up to Vanessa at that first meeting that we had. Jeff and I were there.
Yeah, well, yes, and I've been working with Vanessa on it, and she.
Right, and you have in subsequent meetings, and it's a logical place for public access.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, that's one of the locations I suggested that the DPW, clean it up because it's, but if Parks wants to take the initiative on it, more power to them.
And I know when we talked about that last during that CAM application review, it was in like the 3-4 feet range. Was that, I can't remember what the difference between that and this is.
Say again, Matt?
Do you remember during that CAM review that we were doing when they were talking about that application that went in maybe 2 meetings ago, 3 meetings ago?
Yeah, no, that was more than a CAM review.
It was, what he's talking about is the 3 to 4 foot overhang was at the north end.
Right.
And the south end, is much
that was a regular application.
The south end is much more egregious in terms of the dock sticking into the city right of way, the city littoral rights.
Matt, were you talking about an East Norwalk Boat Club?
yes,
Gary?
that's what you're talking about, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was 2 different issues. It was smaller on one side and larger on the other.
Right.
And so apparently it's that new section that the city's going to be working on. That is the more
south end of their dock. Yeah.
Well, there was a letter that went out to the property owners from DEEP addressing the north encroachment, addressing the south encroachment, and addressing a section of the property that was squared off and filled in, and a lot of questions from DEEP. And I don't know if any of those were answered. DEEP, I think, gave them 30 days to come back with answers and revisions in their plan, because some of the work that they were proposing to do was, besides that work they were proposing to do, there was other stuff on the plan that they said that they were not going to do now, that they wanted removed. It was a whole litany.
It was kind of a comprehensive, notice of insufficiency, basically, was the.
Correct.
Yeah.
From DEEP. So there's a lot to be addressed there. And have you heard that they've addressed any of those issues whatsoever?
Not that I know of.
So if 30 days pass, that means they have to establish and apply all over again, like start from square one.
There was also an issue with the federal anchorage area. And
Yes. Well,
yeah, they wanted it delineated on the plan that they submitted.
Well,
Yeah,
our comment was that any boats that with the size that they were looking to solicit boats there, that those boats would hang into the federal anchorage area.
Correct. That's why DEEP wanted it was approved.
This happened in the past.
By having it put onto the plan. Jeff?
Well, if the city now has more well-developed plans for use of that right of way, we should notify DEEP of that, because they're still considering. They don't have to start over again, John, or they're still, their project is still being reviewed. So if there's additional information pertinent to DEEP's review, having to do with the city use of that right of way. We should provide that to Deep, I think, now.
Yes, but also Deep's, I thought, what I read, that Deep's remarks to them were, they gave them 30 days to address all the comebacks, and if they hadn't addressed them, they would have to start all over again with new application fees. So they weren't, if they didn't address within 30 days. That's what I read. John, you have it there. Pull it up, see if I'm correct.
Okay.
It'll take me a while. Hold on.
I'm assuming that they're going to have to shorten the south side of the dock.
Well, there were many issues. The south side needed to be shortened up. They needed to address the north side of the placement of the boat, which would impede the operations of that, the club that you belong to, Jeff.
East Norwood Boating and Yacht Club.
Right.
Not to mention that the existing deck is overhanging by some 2.5.
It's about a foot and a half, 2 feet. Yes.
Yeah, it's from Land Tech's own admission that it's overhanging the line by some 2.5 to 3 feet, depending on where you are. So, East Norwood Boating and Yacht Club has sent out a response to that before. So,
Right, and Bruce, the conversation you had with Ken Hughes, that was just a conversation. There's no budget that was put together for it, no submission to the committee. So it's not a fait complete either. So it's got to go through the system for them to come back and say this is doing.
They have.
That's correct, Chairman.
Practical use of that area, no question about it. But it's got to get a little further ahead before it happens.
Well, what they have in this document of insufficiency is they have a section here. It says provide documentation that you have satisfactorily addressed the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission's concern discussed in their 11/27/2021 letter that we sent to them. I have that letter. And they also with regard to the Shellfish Commission as well, and they have to apply to completed form to the Army Corps. Provide documentation that the land record file is filed and submit work comment form and compliance certificate form for COP. That was with regard to the deck and paving. Discuss the public access sign wording and show on the plan the view location of the public access signs. Let's see, coastal resource impact under the coastal. Let's see, proposal related to work and activities removed. It says remove the discussion about repairing the seawall on the northern end of the site. I'm looking to see if they have anything about the dock.
Because they're not going to do that. They're not proposing that they do that any
longer. No. Okay. Let's see.
And I think they wanted proof also that the stuff that they're not going to repair was substantial enough to withstand without eroding or creating a.
This is explain why the southwestern corner of the seawall was squared off and indicate the area. Right. I'm looking to see what about to say anything about that south of the dock there. Let's see.
It's the very last bullet point. But it's more of a reference to our comments.
Yeah. While you're looking, Michelle, can I share my screen with the other members?
Yeah, you should be all set.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yeah, Jeff.
So we got that's the area we're talking about.
Right. That's exactly it, Jeff. Yes.
And our concern was that there's a commercial use of the extended city right of way, and Deep was concerned because it was this area was previously permitted, that those structures were previously permitted. But I think if we have that we could provide a comment to Deep saying that it's our understanding that the city is now pursuing plans or discussing plans for use of that right of way for public purposes, and therefore that overhang should be eliminated.
Well, this is an existing aerial shot that you had or existed somewhere.
This is from their application, John, from the applicant's application.
Right, so the application, that's what's exists, but I think what they drew was even longer than this.
Might have
It's,
been.
southward.
Not to the south, to the north. They were adding an extra slip or two.
Yeah, but to the south also was a little longer, Chris.
No.
Yeah, they talk about that here too, as far as the harbor management. And they actually wanted them to address again, the Norfolk Harbor Management Commission objects to the encroachment of the authorized southerly docks into the waterward extension. They have Second Street, should be First Street.
Yeah, and see, right, exactly. But what doesn't make sense when this was done to to cure the ills in that East Basin. The use of the docks that were there was a totally different use. That was a boat livery rental business when that was done. They rented rowboats, little
Overton.
five horsepower motor little boats.
Yeah, that was Bob Baran's business, but that's when there was a channel in there too.
Right, and that was to facilitate what was there to begin with. But now they're asking for a commercial marina, which is different than what was there. That was a boat livery set, rental place, which was a totally different use. It wasn't a marina where people could come up, pull up, berth, have annual contracts, and the like. So that's an altogether different use. So
As a matter of fact, I think it's encroaching on the, if you put a boat there, it's gonna encroach on the channel.
It is. It
There's
is.
no way. Yeah.
So, I mean,
All right, but there's
Not
no
a
channel
chain-
there.
No,
It's
not a
federal
channel. There's no
anchorage
channel.
area.
It's federal anchorage.
that's considered a channel because
No.
Army Corps of Engineers told the condos, they can't park boats on one section.
They're in the channel up there.
Yeah,
The channel's been truncated.
Yeah, by a couple inches.
so if you put a boat there,
They're actually in the federal anchorage.
Yes.
I mean, this is just conversation, means nothing because we haven't gotten final revised set of plans to review and to remark on. You have something else to tell us, Bruce?
What else? Just that Norm Edwards is starting to do his inspections. And I just want to mention, I don't know if it's under new business, but to have the canopy fixed on the boat. There was an enclosure that I guess got all ripped apart.
Thank
Oh,
you.
which boat? I'm sorry, Bruce.
The Shellfish Harbor Master boat.
Oh, okay, okay.
And what do we need? Do we need to spend money on it? Is that,
Yeah, if I can see if I get an estimate.
Yeah.
Have it
let
prepared.
us know, we can come up with it.
Jeff? Yeah.
Can I ask Bruce a question about the location of the transient moorings you were thinking about, Bruce? Where would those be?
Right now, if you know where I showed a boat club is, they already have 3 moorings in front of their boat club.
Right.
So they would come off, Norm would use the anchor of their last one and then breach off north of their mooring to put 2.
But on the east side of it, across the channel from the boat club?
Yes. Yes.
And that gets back to the,
Almost across from, what's that? Marine Max or not, yeah, Marine Max, or we're Norwest.
I have to look at the drawing because you know that the DOT has permission from deep to moor 3, I think it's 3 work vessels along the east side of the channel on the west side of Veterans Park. So I don't know if that would conflict with what you're looking at for the transient
Bruce,
mooring locations.
Bruce, you said you had the plan for where our previously approved and located 8 moorings
I do.
were
I do.
prior to the dredging. Is that area appropriate any longer to use for
Yes,
moorings?
just a little south of where those moorings showed in that blueprint.
And that's not going to impede any navigation or encroach into the
No.
channel or?
No.
These are fore and aft moorings, so right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that for transients, I think that's difficult. I don't know if people agree with me or not. I just think that.
I talked to Norm about
Don't
that,
know how
and
to do that.
Norm didn't think it was a big deal.
I think it's a sailing thing, Alan.
Pardon me?
I think from just my experience, it's so much more challenging with a sailboat than some of the powerboats. And in general, the transients, if you're fore and aft, you could have a 10-foot beam, you could have a 12-foot beam, you could have an 8-foot beam. It varies so much. It does become a challenge on the transient side.
What? I'm sorry. What's the challenge?
No, your point
Fore
about
and aft.
having your point about having the 4.5 mooring as opposed to just a bow mooring on a transient is a big challenge. And
Yeah.
a lot of the areas that are majority transient just are bow only because they're not sure what vessel they're getting, power, sail, the width, the depth. It's such a challenge to keep up.
I think a lot of people have never seen a fore and aft setup, and unless you know what you're encountering when you get to it, to what the attachments of the spanning line is and things like that, I think it's kind of difficult.
East Norwalk, all the moorings in East Norwalk are double, front and back.
Correct, but they're
swing
used to
mooring.
it.
There's no swing
That's-
moorings
that's-
in there.
Yeah, but you're talking about transient people that are coming that don't really have to do that.
Would they even know that? Would they even
You
know?
wouldn't
that-
be able to do it there because of the mud. You're on the edge of the mud. Low tide, they swing over there to the ground.
Yeah.
So you can't do a swing
Yeah,
mooring.
they can't be single if we're gonna do it down there.
Right. How would people know that they needed to do fore and aft? When they,
If they're doing it through DOCWA, then maybe that could be
It'd be listed.
yeah,
stated there that it's a fore and aft. Again, it's going to be very, unless you're used to doing that, it's going to be it could be a challenge.
It'd be very difficult. How far out would you have to go to get a full swing, Bruce?
You could do a single buoy there. Swing
No,
it
how
channel.
far away from that area would we have to?
you have to go south to widen.
How far south?
I don't think any of the moorings in that area were ever swing moorings.
No.
Okay.
Like I said, it was just a little north of Ishota.
Yeah, I know where that is.
All right, so can you get Norm to give you an estimate of cost to do that work so we can?
Yes, I believe it was just time, because if we have the tackle, we have everything that are abandoned moorings, write them down.
Okay. So just get us a
I will.
ballpark so we can deal with it, because the less it costs, the more we can put. Okay, basically, because we have a little budget for it.
Right, and like I said to Alan, we're gonna look around the islands too, maybe put a couple.
Okay, good idea.
People want to come and spend the weekend.
All right. Do you have
Bruce,
anything else?
Bruce, did you get the tags from the former harbor master?
Not yet,
Okay.
but I may be
Game.
I may be en route down there. But
All right,
I'm already on our system, on the online mooring system. I'm starting to send, so on my list, I'm keeping track of who's been paying. And I'm going to send them a separate email saying, hey, please put your name on your buoy. You know what I mean? Even with a thick Sharpie, put your name on it. At least I know who you are, basically. I did a diagram 2 years ago. So that's the diagram that I worked off of when I went with Norm this past weekend. That's how I was able to find some of these abandoned moorings.
Norm Edwards, he's over by where Landon is, right?
No, no, no. He's over in Wilson Cove.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Yacht Club.
And who's by where Landon is?
That'd be Rutherford.
Rutherford's over in East Norwalk side.
No, because.
You want to know who we have for inspectors?
No, just because I heard that somebody's looking to put a bulkhead over in that area. They're making inquiries.
Oh, that would be over by Landon's. Yes. You are correct, Chairman.
Okay, all right, so, but no applications are here, so we don't, it's just speculation, like everything else tonight. Jeff, did you have anything else you want to bring up on stuff that you've been working on?
No, other than we're still waiting to hear from the Connecticut Port Authority when they may issue a request for proposals for the next round of small harbor grants.
Okay.
So we still don't have a project that we, I guess.
How about a harbor master boat?
Right.
No, that's not the sort of thing that's fundable through this, Bruce. It's infrastructure.
They're not waiting for DeSantis to bring the money back or anything, are they?
So we'll just keep
Well,
aware. And
in terms of projects, there's the DPW Parks Department project for the East Norwalk docks, which DPW was interested in pursuing funding. Don't know it will come in, whether that in terms of their design and construction schedule. And then there's also whatever we want to pursue with the street ends, and all that. And that we're still developing scope for.
Yeah. But Jeff, you said there was some speculation about some work being done on the south end of Betts Park as well. Do you want to bring that up now? Or
yes, there's two other things. This is from my report, but just to answer Chris's comment, yes, the East Norwalk Marina improvements are fundable through this Port Authority Small Harbor Grant Program.
Right.
But
once it opens up.
No, but in order to apply for the program, we have to have the permits in place so that they can be assured that the money will go towards a project that we have approval to build. So we may not be, I don't know when they will have that permit, but it may not be in time for the next round. The other thing that we should talk about is I did talk with a person from the Norwalk River Watershed Association who wanted to inform us that the Watershed Association and Harbor Watch have an idea for a project, an environmental enhancement project that in the area of Veterans Park. And my comment was that that this is something that's within the jurisdiction of the Harbor Commission and the Shellfish Commission. And that before pursuing any sort of a grant by those private entities, they should discuss the project with the two commissions. So that the idea was that we would set up a meeting with representatives from the Harbor and Shellfish Commission to talk with these groups about what their ideas are, but that they shouldn't be pursuing a project affecting city property without first discussing it with the city agencies that have authorities. So that we'll try to set up a meeting for that purpose, maybe next week. The other topic I wanted to bring up tonight too is we had talked about doing something to recognize the public service of Tony Mobilia on the Harbor Commission for many years. And we had talked about preparing an interpretive panel similar to the one we did for John Frank that's down at Calf Pasture Beach. But we thought it would be most appropriate to do something in the East Norwalk Marina area where Tony kept his boat. And I bring this up because Tony's wife, Dorothy, told me that she's planning to come to Norwalk in July, back to Norwalk. She's relocated to Florida. And if there was something that we could do, that we were planning to do in Tony's memory, she would make sure that she would be here. So that's something we should discuss, I think. What would be an appropriate tribute to Tony on the waterfront.
Well, based on that, we absolutely, we've talked about this several times, that we do want to do some sort of honorarium for Tony Mobilia for all the years of service and dedication to all the works of the Harbor Commission. But I don't think we can effectively plan on doing something in the East Basin to that existing marina when that existing marina is going to be totally rebuilt, totally reconfigured. The entrance to it may be changed. So my suggestion would be, and open it for discussion, that we have whatever we're gonna put and want to put there made, and we do a ceremony with Dorothy when she comes into town in July, and then subsequently when that project is done, which is Chris McDonald, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that they're talking about having the project done for 2023.
You're muted.
You're muted, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll be taken out of service the following winter and reconstructed for spring of 2023 is their goal.
Okay. So then at that point, we'll deal with DPW or Parks and Recs, that exactly where the location would be to put that in. And chances are, and would be nice if it was at the entrance to that East Basin dock area.
Mr. Chairman,
Anybody else want to chime in and have any ideas or thoughts?
we could have the Tony Mobilia Transit mooring. We could put his name on the board.
Right.
all over Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
Or you put two in and call one Tony and the other Mobilia.
Right. Anybody else have any comments on that remark? So I would like to put a motion forward then that we do follow through, have the plaque made, and on the ready for when Dorothy comes in July to have a small ceremony.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Objections, abstentions? So moved. Okay, is that the end of your report, Jeff?
Yes.
All right, Shellfish?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Permits are on sale.
And I meant shellfish. I'm like lisping now. I didn't mean selfish. So,
But we'll take it.
okay.
Yeah, permits are on sale at Fisherman's World. As you know, we're shorthanded. We're down 2 commissioners going forward. So eat Norwalk shellfish. Go back, sir. Thank you.
First off, are there senior discounts?
Steve, you were talking last year, you were talking about daily permits, possible daily permits available. Do you think that's going to happen this year or no?
No, it will not happen for this year.
I get it every year anyway, whether I use it or not.
Have you guys put in for your vacancies?
Pete has a candidate in mind. I don't know if the letter has gone in or not yet. But we still have another position. Commissioner modified as well.
I talked to Chuck Pogany, and he's supposed to get the letter in, but I just found out 2 weeks ago he had his hip operated on when he was supposed to be doing it. So I talked to him yesterday, and he says he'll get it in as soon as possible. Plus, I think I got to get mine in. I think mine's up. And Steve. So Matt Ferry's leaving in a few months and Matera left.
And just for transparency, me and John Crespo were still in limbo.
In limbo?
Right? Mooring and harbor safety, Dennis.
Okay, the renewal applications are ongoing and the committee continues to monitor and address any issues or concerns. We have 26 approved applications and 63 applications that are under review. Emails will be sent to the managed fields, reminding them that the first payment is due by March 31st of this year. We will contact the tackle inspectors to review and discuss any issues for this season. Under harbor safety, we're not aware of any issues or concerns right now.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Plans and recommendations, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't have too much to report. There was a feedback from the Norwalk's attorneys. We met with them a couple of times, and they sent a proposed overview of what was going to be discussed. There was a couple of corrections that needed to be made on that, and Mr. Stowers, is it Michelle? It's right. Is that correct?
Oh, you
muted yourself, Jeff. Jeff, you're muted.
There you go. How's that?
Good.
Is it Mr. Stowers or Stowers? SDO? No? Stowers?
Yes, Stowers maybe sounds familiar.
Yeah, Jeff, you also, and you got muted again. Jeff, you're muted again. You also wanted to revisit maybe the fee structure somewhat and have a discussion.
Yeah, to revisit the fee structure. We could certainly do that. It's not enough, we could do that. And I know that there was some discussion about whether or not a discount to the managed fields should be applied or not. I know that there were a couple commissioners that didn't really want to see a decrease in fees, not so much a discount per se, but so does anyone have any?
Well, I thought that the conversation went somewhat where some would be paying less and some just a little more. And it was kind of unfair overall with the goal that's attached to it to try to raise money for operation and for future works that we need to be done. And I know this is just phase one because we're going to hit the other part of it later on, but are we not shooting ourselves in the foot by offering up that discount? And I know it was a placation at one point, but once the analysis was done, that placation is costing the city money.
If you go by overall length, then some managed fields would save money, and others would pay slightly. Well, it depends on year to year, because it was going by total length that's reported versus total number of vessels. So the total number of vessels, and I'll use Sprite Island as an example. So they have a lot of smaller boats, smaller vessels versus say Norwalk or Rowayton yacht clubs. So they have larger vessels. So by a Norwalk yacht club would certainly gain in the scenario of the 25% discount. Sprite, based on 2019, 2020 numbers, it would be either $5 or $11 more per vessel. That's over the average of some 40 something vessels. So it's not too bad as far as an increase there. There was a comment that, a 19-foot vessel or an 18-foot vessel, the increase from what they would pay per foot to a flat rate would be some 85% increase. So if you look at it that way, then it hits the smaller boats a little harder, but still it's only $100 at most. with a yacht club such as Sprite Island, where they do have a fleet of smaller vessels. I could see that, where they're coming from there. And that comment was made from a member of the Sprite Island Yacht Club. But overall, as footage, Sprite Island would pay a little bit more for the same number of vessels at the same size that they currently have versus, say, Norwalk Yacht Club. I'm up to renegotiating, rethinking that, but I'd have to put everything together again and then come up with another proposal.
Well, I thought the thought was to just do it and not have a discount.
Correct. So that would be the change, is not to have a discount for any managed fields. We would have to put that proposal forward. I didn't write that.
Well, I had that conversation with Darren, and he was holding back from bringing it to committee, waiting for the results of this
correct
tonight. So if you get back to him one way or the other, it's what the commission decides is the most appropriate thing to do. And if you want to talk about parity and fairness, a discount, I don't know why it's appropriate at all. Everybody should be paying that same flat fee number across the board. And that's, to me, the only thing that could be fair.
I believe the argument was that they didn't have to go through the online mooring process. So that was the argument that I heard from, I believe it was Roe and Norwalk Yacht Club, that basically that at the beginning of the year they say this is what we have, and towards the end of the year, especially for one of those yacht clubs, they give a final tally.
And then they eventually pay. Laurie, you wanted to chime in?
I was just wondering, and Matt, you would probably know this about right. I know that at Norwalk Yacht Club, it's not the club that pays the money, it's the boat owners. Like, they pass that along as part of their mooring fee structure. So if we were talking about yacht club saving money or not saving money, I know in the case of Norwalk, I don't know about Roe or Sprite. It's the individual boat owners that are bearing the burden.
So
I just want to make that clarification.
In that case, then it's an individual, it's not the club. And even if it was the club, they pass it on anyway, correct?
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's a business. Well, they decide what they pass on and what they don't pass on.
Correct.
What they mark up and what they don't mark up. I mean, they mark it up for $3 a foot, which I think is what we charge. The yacht clubs charge over $1,000 a year for it. So there's extra services tacked on, launches, et cetera. But it's, of the total fee that a yacht club member pays, the actual part that goes in the city of Norwalk is a small percentage.
Yeah, and again, these are 2023 fees, not for this year. And we're only going to have one shot at it for a period of time, and then we'll have to wait for inflation to go ask for more if ever necessary. So if somebody would want to continue talking about this, and if we can address it and come up with a conclusion whether we're going to keep it at 25% discount for the managed fields or remove that part of it and make it a flat fee parity across the board. Alan?
I think it's silly to go through all this effort for something that comes out revenue neutral for the commission. I think it's an awful lot of effort for nothing. And I think that I don't know when these fees have changed. 15 years? I don't know how, 20 years?
At least 5, 6, 7 years.
Longer than that, significantly
More than that.
It's got to be at least
So I
like
think-
the mid 90s.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that we're long overdue for increase in fees, and I think we ought to work with the state a little bit to get that $200 cap out of the state statute that limits the fee to $200.
Well,
I mean,
we are well
that's-
within that. We're half of that cap.
we are now, but I think there's several things that should happen. I think one is we should work long-term to get that out of the legislation, so you don't have a fee that's written into a state statute, which I think is
No, I understand that, but
kind of dopey. The other thing is, I think, that, I think $100 and no discounts makes sense. I would be at $150 a permit at this point. It's
all right,
just-
Alan, do you want to make a motion then at the $100?
Wait a second.
And
Don't
then
you
we'll
think
have
you,
we'll have a discussion on it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that our fee proposal does not include a 25% discount for managed fields.
Is there a
Second.
second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion?
Are we amending a previous motion or are we making a new motion? Because this is wholly,
We're changing the previous motion. So I don't know if you
Isn't
would
this
replace.
part of the work that Jeff has already put together?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
but
think it's been 2 years in
we
the
have not,
running here.
we have not gone to the committee of the common council yet. So this is the opportunity.
Correct.
We
right.
need to-
Shouldn't that be discussed at his committee, as far as the pros and cons, as far as what was being proposed?
We are doing that right now, John.
John, have you seen has anybody gone with the averages on other towns? Because other towns have mooring fields and stuff.
You asking me?
I send that to Dennis quite regularly, when I encounter that, but I know over where my mooring is, the mooring fee for a transient non-residents is $350 for the mooring permit, and for residents $200.
where's that, Alan?
That's in well, it's Port Jefferson, but it's that whole Brookhaven. Is it Brookhaven? Yeah, there's all those towns belong to Brookhaven. So that's all the.
I believe
North Shore area.
Worcester Bay is the same.
And I know the yacht clubs, are I mean, $1,000 $3,000 for a mooring is what they charge the members. I think the point there is that the mooring fee is as Chris says, is a pittance compared to what the boat owner is spending on the mooring in many cases, not all, but many. There's a $100 fee and somebody's charging, $2,000-3,000 for the privilege of being on that mooring.
Right, and we're
underprice ourselves,
Sure, and by making it $100, we're lowering the cost for every boat over 33 feet.
Right.
We're stealing from the poor and giving to the rich.
Yep.
So, and that's, I guess I have two comments. One is, as a commissioner, I agree that the fee structures are really not in line with today's society. And that I thought going through this process, and Jeff has done an amazing job keeping it rolling, but I mean, we were talking about this a month before the world shut down, March of 2020, when we were about to have having groups of marinas and things like that we were going to have the discussions with and start the broader discussion about the fee based, and it was supposed to be for equating everything, not just having the mooring owners be saddled with this, but having everyone that's part of Norwalk Harbor part of this. So did that fall to the wayside, or is that still?
No,
you're talking slip fees, Matt?
Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
so we met with legal, the city's legal department, and we had a few meetings with them, and they were not on board with being able to charge. I think they are coming around. We continue to have discussions with them regarding a per slip fee. So we'll take, East Norwalk Yacht Club that has some 54 slips, so again, it's some of those in the city did not understand the whole concept. We did explain it to them, but then didn't know if based on our harbor management plan if we actually had the right to charge. And we've pointed out that we actually do, or we believe we do. And, you know, with Jeff's help and John's help and others, but we have met with them, and that is moving along. That's not going to be in 2023. As John pointed out, this is step one of at least a two-step process. The second step is to go ahead and apply a fee for each slip is for commercial or private entities.
And barges and commercial units.
The barges and commercials, so those are in there. That's a $200 mooring fee. That's if only a mooring. So this is all moorings only right now.
We haven't given up on it, Matt, but you know, if the more time that goes by, and then it's another year and it's another year and we've done nothing.
And Matt, one of the recommendations that the city had was to move forward with the moorings this time and then continue on with the slips, because the moorings would be in easier, you know, lower fruit, if you will.
Yeah, but on the moorings, the people pay for all the tackle and everything. We're charging them for a spot. That's all we're charging them for.
Yeah, and that kind of furthers my next point as I, you know, take my commissioner's hat off and put on the, you know, the harbor master over at Sprite. You know, the feedback I got was pretty immediate because, you know, as an average boat length of, you know, 19 feet or 19 and a half feet, you know, it was going to be a significant increase, even with the 25% discount. And I believe the numbers that you had sent over to us was that, in the grand scheme of things, if the 2020 numbers were consistent for 2022, and these went through, you know, basically there'd be a decrease in the total fees paid by Norwalk Yacht Club by about $2,000, a decrease in Rowayton Yacht Club by about $250, $350. And then there'd be an increase of for Sprite Island of about $550. But as a percentage basis, I want to say that I don't even think we were at 3,000 last year in total payments to the city, so that 550 increase was a rather sizable one, although not, you know, even as a member, although not unattainable. But then you look at the other two as being decreased, so that, you know, to Alan's point earlier, at the end of the day, you're looking at, you know, a $1,800 loss by moving this new platform forward. And, you know, so I haven't even shared any of those numbers with the people with the, you know, torches and pickets who are coming after me to say, you know, how is this beneficial in any way, shape, or form? And I think it kind of goes back to the point of, you know, the 25% discount initially was that the members supply all the tackle. You know, we have our own inspection team, we have our own placement team, stuff like that. That was, to my, I mean, I've only been doing this for 20 something years. That was the thought that was what that discount was for. But, you know, maybe it's time for that to go. You know, I'm not against that, but.
Yeah, and am I correct, Dennis, that we don't use the online mooring service for any of the managed fields, so we don't pay those fees? Is that right?
That's correct. Technically, we don't. I mean, I go through it and verify the payments based on the lineal footage in the field, but you know, I do put some effort in to make sure it's correct.
But we're not charging. We're not paying the online mooring service their service charge for registering all those managed fields.
That's their responsibility.
Yeah, so there is a savings to the city. I guess that we're not being charged for the online mooring service for those managed fields too.
Well, so that's where the discount came in.
Passing that along, right? Yeah.
Right.
Well, we weren't saving 25% by not going through that field, by not going through the online moorings either.
No
system. We weren't getting
the managed fields were supposed to put input into the online mooring system, weren't they?
What do you mean, John?
Weren't they supposed to put their information into the online mooring system?
No.
I thought conceptually that's what they were supposed to do.
No, they provide us with all the information that,
It's just a list.
right.
Typically,
from
if the
my
city
point of-
has an issue, they come to us and then we basically reach out to that member and handle it, or detail the equipment or inspect the equipment or whatever the requirement is.
I mean, I don't know, it would make sense to me to have all that stuff, information in this online mooring system, so we'd have some statistical data and have all that information about how many boats there are, what the average length is, and all that from one place.
There's 29 boats in Norwalk Harbor over 30 feet. If that helps.
Yeah. So what's driving the change from the current system of $3 a foot? Why are we
From
anything?
Right, so it's a little bit easier. It's a rise in a small increase, and I had no idea that it was that long ago that it was increased, and it's just simpler to account to do all of this accounting, especially for the managed fields. If you have 50 slips and it's $100, then you know exactly what you're paying.
Right.
We don't have to worry about verifying lengths going out. And as far as I'm aware, Dennis, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just a list that, say, Norwalk, well, the 3 managed fields would say, I've got this 20 footers, 10, 30 footers, etc., and just go by an overall length. And I'm not saying that, there's any funny business going on or anything. I'm certainly not saying that.
It's on the honor.
Sure, it's on the honor, but don't the yacht clubs charge their members by the foot?
Yeah, that's why the systems are typically pretty much in line, because I mean, again, Sprite is the minimalist here. I mean, I think it was $28 a foot that they charge their members. So 25 of it is to the club and 3 of it was a direct payment to, but this, that hasn't changed also in many years.
Right. So they're probably not, even if we charge them $100, they're probably still going to charge their members by the foot. So they're still doing all that accounting.
Well, I think what's going to end up happening is, to be transparent, that the process is going to be more of, here's the city fee as a separate line item, and then here's the club fee, and they'll both, if one's going to be a flat rate, they'll probably make it, from 0 to 18 feet is this, and from 18 feet to 22 feet, they're going to do it something like that.
Yeah, well, I was even going to get to that, but all this work we're saving, the clubs, they're still going to do anyways. They're still going to write down the length of every boat that they're selling a mooring to. So we're not making anything easier for them. And
easier for us, really.
Well, we just cash a check, right? We
Well,
don't,
not necessarily. I
like-
get the spreadsheets from each mooring field.
Yep.
And what I don't understand is why each mooring field doesn't add up the lineal footage, work that number to the amount that they pay for the mooring field. I go through and I have to add up all the lineal footage of the boats, see if I can tie out the amount on the check. So, I mean, that's takes time, takes my time. And also, I was always an advocate, frankly, and Mr. Chairman had a small committee early on, and we discussed increasing the mooring fees.
Yeah.
I was always an advocate of increasing the mooring fees because I think we make more money that way than doing what we're doing now. And I had said that before. I'm not criticizing where we're going. I'm on board. I mean, I'm not that type of person.
So what I'm hearing is, for all intents and purposes, it would be more practical to just change the mooring fee from $3 to $5.
100%. And that was kind of some of the response that I got from members, in that it doesn't penalize some and reward others.
Right.
Exactly.
So if we were going to make a motion to amend what we adopted last month, that our analysis based on overall revenue and under the guise of fairness, that we're gonna go back to the per foot price. And based on today's economy and the world we live in, that price is gonna be $5 a foot. Does that make sense to everybody or no? I see a lot of agree. And Alan, tell us why. Be the devil's advocate.
I think because you're dependent upon the boat owners to tell you how long their boats are. And I think there's a lot of.
The managed fields.
That's not quite true, Alan.
Dennis verifies all the numbers at the managed.
I look at all the registrations that they provide us.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Verify the length, and I also verify the amount they pay. So if they're short by 2 feet, they're gonna know about it.
Dennis, do you get registrations for all vessels in the managed fields?
No.
So for the online,
what the managed fields is telling me.
I get it. Yep. So I get it for the online mooring because they have to submit, they have to attach their registration.
Exactly.
I understand that. And again, it's the honor system, and so far that's worked, and I don't have any reason why it wouldn't continue to work.
To me, it sounds like it might be a fairer proposition altogether if we remain at the per foot price. And we raise it to $5.
I agree with you, John. And I think that my background of being concerned about, does the honor system work? In the managed fields, it's in their best interest to make sure they know what footage they have so they can charge appropriately, because they're not just passing on a $3 a foot fee on your bill for city fees and then another $190 a foot for club fees. They're not going to do that. They're going to put it through as mooring charges.
Are you comfortable with that, Alan?
No, I don't know that you get from, even with the registration, a lot of the times that comes from what the boat owner puts on the piece of paper for the motor vehicle department. My experience is measuring boats at my club, and we regularly find 3 and 4 foot differences, and they're always shortened to.
What you're saying is when they go out on the sound and they go to Long Island and are having a cocktail and they meet another boater, they have a 50-footer. But when they're doing their registration and signing their boat up, it's 32 feet. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And I know we get the registrations. I'm not sure how accurate those are necessarily either. I just say,
but they generally are, because they go by the manufacturer with the serial number and the like, because that's a register, like your car is registered. They have all the underlying weight of the car and the length of the car and the width of the car. That's all through.
Yeah, a Sabre 34 is 34 feet for the most part. Maybe they're cheating on their bow. Maybe they're cheating on their bowsprit, but it's good enough. I mean, it's good enough for our purposes. And it's more equitable than just a flat fee.
Yeah, I suppose. The thing about it is maybe we should just randomly measure some boats in these clubs,
Yeah.
Well, Bruce is going to do that. He's going to have that program on his phone where he's got the laser that'll just give him the measurements. He's going to do random samplings.
The other piece of it is
I can do it.
Is that your Sabre 34 isn't 34 feet if it has a swim platform, it's 37 or 38 feet. That's the
swim platform.
Well, we're talking registered length. We're not talking length.
Yeah,
over.
You gotta be registered.
So
Don't complicate the issue.
procedurally, do we have to rescind last month's vote, and then, because we're substantially changing the entire proposal from
let me get to that. First of all, Dennis, I want you to take back your second of the motion that's on the floor.
I'll take it back.
Alan, would you take back your motion?
I take it back.
Okay. Chris, would you make a motion to rescind the motion put forward for the pricing of the new mooring schedule?
I make a motion that we rescind last month's vote on the mooring fees.
Okay, and is there a second to that? Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none. Okay, Matt abstained.
Wait, sorry, I have to abstain. Sorry about that.
Okay. So, but it does pass, majority vote rules. Now, who would like to put a motion forward that the new motion for the pricing for the moorings will be raised from $3 a foot to $5 a foot?
I'll make that motion that the mooring fee be increased from $3 a foot to $5 a foot.
With no discounts whatsoever.
We don't have to, yes.
No discounts.
Period. Effective 2023 or effective this year? It's already in motion.
23.
Effective 2023.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Wait, just let me ask, what's the rationale? But $2 a foot more. Why not $3 a foot? What's the rationale for like going to, is it $5 an even number? Is that?
No, because basically what I did, the $5 a foot comes out to that $20 a foot, that 20-foot boat. It makes it $100. And then if somebody has a 30-foot boat, it's $150. So that's the rationale behind it. Because we're trying to do something that's a positive thing. And what happens is it's a net negative at the end of the day. We make it's producing less revenue, and that wasn't the purpose of what we were doing. So,
John, also, I don't think we're going to wait 15 or 20 years to raise the fees again. I think
no, because we keep
couple
procrastinating
years.
about this. Because I first brought up raising the fees 5 years ago, and God bless Tony Mobilia, he kept bringing up reasons why with this and that and the other thing, and then this is where we are today. So, all in favor of raising the fees from $3 to $5 per foot.
All right. Okay, right. I can see that.
Any abstentions? And that's it.
Lori, do you want to abstain? Or?
No, well, I'm confused about the conflict of interest because on last month's vote, I actually asked about it. And the sense was that I didn't have a conflict of interest, even though I'm a member of Norwalk Yacht Club, because all of us in some way or another are involved in mooring fees. Is that still the case? I'm happy to abstain.
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
So
I don't know if you can hear me. I have terrible internet connection.
No, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't swear.
So
I have bad
we're
internet connection, so I didn't hear what you said.
I said we're fine. That your vote counts, whether you want to abstain or not. That's regardless.
Okay.
I don't think it's a conflict because you're in unison with to the flavor of what the board is putting forward.
No,
okay.
I mean,
I don't think that's the reason for being. No, not.
It's not a conflict of interest. Just agree with everybody. Just make it not a
No,
conflict.
that's not a.
No,
good
but realistically, it's a realistic motion, and she's not. I don't think there's a conflict.
No,
because what would happen? We wouldn't have a quorum if everybody with a conflict would abstain.
I mean, everyone is a member of a boat club here somewhere. So.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I vote in favor of the motion.
So moved. So Jeff, you're gonna call Darren?
I will contact Darren. I will make that change, and everything else stays the same, except that it goes from a flat rate fee to $5 per foot.
Correct.
For 2023.
Correct. So
There
then the next thing would be that it will go to a committee of the council.
Correct.
And then from the committee, it'll come to the council. So there's plenty of time to do this. And that's why I stalled it, because this was gonna hit the calendar at yesterday's meeting. So I told Darren to hold up on it because we had some afterthoughts and when we did the math, it just didn't work out. And again, the goal is to increase the revenue to the city, not to decrease it.
Correct.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that up, John, because Jeff's done an amazing amount of work to keep this project moving.
Yeah.
For 2 years now, and I feel bad that the result is less revenue. And I completely understand, where Dennis is coming from, because the whole goal here is to get some value for the products we're supplying, the city of Norwalk. And I think to Dr. Pinto's point a minute ago, I wouldn't be against, raising it to, $6 or something like that to actually have there be some type of a bump so that if we don't get to the next increase for another 4 or 5 years, it's not way behind the times. And, the only reason that I'm personally abstaining from this is that I've been a critical component of, helping Jeff and working with this, and I plan to continue that. But, as one of the large managed fields harbor masters, I just didn't want to also be on both sides of the field of the decision. But I completely agree that I think at a minimum every 5 years, this should be reviewed. And
well, I was gonna suggest, it's a suggestion, open for conversation, that we make it a policy statement that we analyze our any and all fees that we charging now and or fees that we charge in the future, that they be analyzed annually in a report given back by the committee. I mean, that because all kinds of things could come into play, especially as we're seeing the CPI and inflation of what's happening. It just costs a lot more to operate, and those operations will come into play for everything that surrounds us, and that will be subject to in the future as well. So we need to do the right thing by the city. And again, in most cases, everybody on this commission most people it may cost them money, are the decisions that we make. But we're not looking at it from a selfish standpoint. We're looking at it for the benefit of the city and its citizens. So, all right, let's move on. Newsletter and website, Alan.
No report.
Okay. Water quality, Giuseppe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last meeting we had consisted mostly of Jeff and the chairman, John Romano, presenting what was going on with the DEE permitting process and how they were gonna go through the different hearings, with John Pino's work being represented here. And that was a major part of the meeting. Prior to that, we just had a short discussion on the DEP meeting about heavy metal levels in taken by the Department of Health. And that's it.
Thank you very much. And now we're on to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would love to say hello?
We have treasurer talk.
It's like there's one person on, Linnell. I'm not sure if she would like to speak. She
Mr.
would have to
Chairman,
raise
we
her
have the
hand.
treasurer's report.
Oh, finance,
The
I'm sorry.
treasurer's report.
Yes, finance, please. And Alan, I was not able to open the paperwork sent out today on finance.
Anybody else have a problem?
And that's a glitch that I may have.
It's a plain old Excel spreadsheet.
I know, but it's a glitch I may have that it doesn't open.
Oh.
Whenever
I was able to open it.
I was able to open it as well.
It appears, and then I click on something, then it goes for me to save it again, and then it'll keep repeating itself. So I don't know what my issue is or how to correct it. If anyone knows, they can talk me through it, because I'm having that with the programs too.
So we didn't have a whole lot of activity in February.
So give us an updated report, and you also need to have a bill from Jeff that's long overdue.
That brings me to point 2. I received a bill from Jeff Stedman for September through December of 2021, an amount of $8,700. We just asked that we, I guess, move to approve that payment. I distribute Jeff's invoice to the commission if you'd like. The way we get this paid is once we, so we don't all have to sign off on it. We use the minutes of this recording, and how we vote is how the finance department uses to get the okay on the payment. So,
yeah, is there a second to that motion to pay Jeff's bill?
Second.
Dennis?
Second.
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And also what should be explained is that that amount that he submitted is in our budget and under our budget
Yes, it is.
as well. So it's not over budget, it's under budget. And actually, I would have expected a bill over budget because of all the work that Jeff has been doing. He's been doing monumental tasks, especially with all the stuff that we're dealing with.
I think that's something we have to look forward to is having greater consultant expenses going forward with this bridge project. And I think we need to really address how we.
Well, we could discuss that at a later.
Get there.
Dennis?
I have a question. Are we planning to pay the deputy harbor master like we paid the harbor master?
No, he doesn't get paid. Right now, he's posting. We'll have to discuss that in an executive session.
I don't agree with that, but that we can discuss.
I'm posting.
Posting.
No, but eventually he's gonna have to get paid, but he's still state, as far as the state's concerned, he's still deputy. So we'll get that squared away hopefully too. And is there such a thing as we know the appropriate person that does and pushes the appointment? Can we send him a letter that we need that handled post haste? Jeff?
Yes, we talked with Deep, and the person who was handling the harbor master appointments in the governor's office, excuse me, is no longer there. So we were given the names of two people to send the recommendation to for the appointment of the harbor master.
Well, can you send it that we have there is an urgency at this particular time?
Yes, and the reason why, and we're also told that although the state statute requires a submittal of 3 names, that we can make an argument, and the governor has some leeway to appoint the harbor master from less than 3 names if we make the argument why that should be done.
Yeah, but we did submit 3 names.
Well, I think that we can do it with just 1 name if you know, rather than submit the 3. But I can talk with you about that. They did say that for the deputy harbor master, we would need to submit 3 names. But for these circumstances, with the retirement and the elevation of the deputy, to the harbor master position, we could submit 1.
Okay.
And they also,
I think I heard that before.
Okay, thank you.
Another time, thank you. Public comment, I'm sorry. Linnell, I see that you were there and you started to speak up. Linnell Jones, did you want to say something?
I don't see her raising her hand, so it doesn't seem here that
Okay.
she has any comments.
Okay, so very good. So can I get the minutes approved as amended?
I'll approve the minutes from the February meeting as amended per John's emails.
All right, all in favor?
I'll second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Abstentions? All right.
John,
Yes.
what about the special meeting? There were minutes sent out about the special meeting.
Yeah,
that
okay,
we
good.
had.
Can we get the minutes from the special meeting approved? Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve them. I reviewed them. The only thing, did you make the change of,
Yeah, I made a change. Yes, John.
As amended?
Yeah.
Oh, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
aye.
All right, so moved. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, very good. This is a record time for us. And it's ironic, we didn't really have that much to talk about tonight, but we found enough sidebar stuff and good stuff to really interact with. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. As the season progresses, it should get a lot more interesting, especially when we have the findings to go over from the fact finder from the public hearings. So thank you all very much and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
guys.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night, Al.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Good night.